All right, welcome back, everyone. We're going to have some more stories to go in, and we have a wonderful, special lady here. Washington State's blessed to have an international president, past international president. So thank you, Carlene, for having a chat with me. Because I mean, there's no way we're going to get all the experiences in.
No, you would need 2 years.
So please go ahead and introduce yourself and titles that you want to share.
I am Carlene Garner. I live in Tacoma, Washington, and I am a past president of the General Federation of Women's Clubs.
Yes. Wonderful. And how long have you been with GFWC?
I have been a member for over 50 years.
Yeah. Yep.
I
can't believe you guys can remember that, because I think I only started in 2019 and I'm still like, how long? Because I feel like I've been with you guys forever.
Because of your mother.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Yes. Yes. And how welcoming all of you guys have been.
Good.
Like immediately welcoming.
We try.
Yes. Yeah, because you don't want to chase anybody away. That's for sure, right? We
want to welcome everyone.
Every woman. Come on in.
There's a place for you.
So how did you get started in GFWC?
Well, very honestly, it was 50 years ago. I had very young children. We were a part of a cooperative nursery school, which meant that the parents were involved. And I became president of, they had a board of directors. And we had a Santa Claus suit. And we used it for the children's party. And then when we finished, one of the members of nursery school came and said, could I borrow the Santa Claus suit? Well, that had never been asked of us before. And so I kind of racked my brains how I was going to handle this, and said yes, but it did have to be cleaned. And so when we finished with it, we lent it to her. And so when she returned it to me in the cleaning bag, she said, I'd like to explain to you why I needed that. And she said that she belonged to an organization that did Christmas parties for those who were less fortunate than many of us. And so, in fact, we chatted, probably half hour, 45 minutes. And she finally reached over and said, would you like to come to a meeting? Famous last words.
Definitely famous.
And of course, I went to a meeting and literally was caught that, not the instant, but probably by the time the meeting was over, because it was a large group. There was about 80 members at that point.
Oh, wow.
And they were involved in so many things.
Yeah.
And I understood almost from the beginning, probably not quite, that I didn't have to do everything, but I could pick and choose those things that were of interest to me. And so I did come back, and that was in the olden days, and you had to attend 2 meetings before you could join and all those good things. Don't have to do that anymore.
No.
But so by the time I went to my 3rd meeting, where I actually became a member, I had a little bit of an idea of how the club worked. I mean, they had officers, they had chairmen, and I say at all these wonderful projects. And of course, at every meeting, there were sign-up sheets do you want to come and be a part of this project, that project? There were, I say, activities for those who were less fortunate, building playground equipment, working at the local zoo, all under the name of the Junior Women's Club of Tacoma at that point. So that was my start.
Right. I cannot even fathom how many projects you guys must have been doing at that time.
With 80 members, a lot.
Yeah. I mean, because just now with some of our smaller groups, I mean, just even when I joined and I saw how much they do in our little tiny group.
When you hear reports at a state convention, and a state chairman will tell you how many projects a particular area of clubs reported. And as I say, we are a much smaller organization now, as are most service organizations. But it is just amazing that a small group of women can make such a difference. But I believe it was Eleanor Roosevelt who said, who else would do it but a small group of women?
Definitely. So, like I said, you have surely got so many memorable moments, but is there anything that sticks out in your mind of a moment, a GFWC moment?
There are so many. I guess personally for me, it has to do with becoming international president of the General Federation of Women's Clubs. And different people over the course of time had said very nice little things to me. And I went to a conference once when I was still a junior. So it was probably the early 70s. And we went to both Washington, D.C. and New York. And I was so enamored with Washington, D.C. I said to those who were with me, I would just love to have 2 years to
Oh,
live in this city, and
famous
be
last
careful what you
words.
wish for.
Yep.
Be careful what you wish for.
Manifested that one.
And so I eventually, of course, became president of Washington State.
Mhm.
And the woman who came after me was absolutely wonderful and marvelous. Unfortunately, she has since passed away, but she was incredibly encouraging. And in our organization, when you are president, in the first January, you receive what we call endorsement papers. So if you do have a candidate for office, these are the papers you do have to fill out, make sure the candidate meets the qualifications, et cetera, et cetera. And she called me early one morning in January and said, I've received this packet. What should I do with it? And I said to her, well, you can round file it. And Washington State did have a file cabinet. And she says, no, I don't want to do that. And I said, well, then just put it in the file cabinet. And she said, in a voice that I'd not heard too many times, Carlene, you're not listening to me. And it took me a couple minutes. It really did. Oh, and I said at the time, thank you, but no, thank you. And so she talked to me a little bit, and I said, well, maybe another time. Well, that was January. And of course, the endorsement process for our organization runs until convention. And when I was preparing for convention, I actually started receiving phone calls.
Right.
And the woman who was president was Dolores. I had to call her literally the Saturday before her convention began and said, can I change my mind?
It's a lot to work through.
It was. And my husband and I actually took a weekend. We went to the Oregon coast and we talked about me.
Yeah.
And I wanted him to understand what it would mean to him, for me, what it would mean for our relationship. And when we had dinner Saturday night, he said, you need to go for it.
Goodness. Let's see if I start crying. It could happen.
and he was incredibly supportive. At one point, I needed to purchase a guest book, I believe it was. And I said, well, I would need this if I won. And he says, well, you better buy it now.
Right.
So, and the year that I did run, there were 3 candidates for the office of treasurer, and GF does a plurality. And so one vote does it, the one with even if it's not a majority. And because there were 3 candidates, it was not quite a majority, but I was the top vote getter. Right. And, fortunately, I didn't ever have any more competition. And in 2010, I became international president of the General Federation of Women's Clubs.
Wonderful. And the reason I'm teared up is because I work with so many women in midlife. And my motto is, it's our turn. So the fact that it's like, okay, it was time for you to come out and be like, this is what I need.
Yeah, it was. And I had worked with, obviously, Cooperative Nursery School. We had 2 boys. I had worked with PTA, had worked with all the sports clubs that the kids were involved with. I had worked with Scouts. And so GFWC for me was an opportunity to do something for me. Yep. And the time was right when I became state president. Actually, it was right when I became a district president. And then I became a state president. And the time was, I guess it was right. I actually had thought, maybe I would do that in a couple, 3-4 years. Yes. But because I did receive several phone calls from around the country, not just around the state, saying, it's time and you need to do it now. Yep. And so, didn't know there were going to be 2 other candidates. That was a little on the spooky side. Right. Because obviously when there are 3, you really truly don't know. Yeah. You don't know who's campaigned in which way and, what feelings are and this, that. I mean, there's so much that goes into that. And I don't remember a lot of prior to the election, because of course my emotions were in my stomach, I think. But I remember the morning of my first executive committee meeting.
Oh my goodness.
Got all dressed up,
Oh.
went downstairs to register and ran into one of the other officers who's obviously had a whole lot more experience than I did. And she says, "What are you doing?" And I says, "I'm going to go register." She says, "Carlene, you don't have to. They will bring it to you." I thought, oh, okay.
Are you sure? Don't I have to sign somewhere?
Even when I was a state president, people didn't bring things to me. But they do at GFWC. And over the course of time, I knew a lot about the organization, and it is a marvelous organization because it offers first and foremost friendship. And on really an international level. I've been fortunate enough to travel for GF, to travel to Taiwan, to travel to France, to travel to Scotland and Ireland. And you meet wonderful, wonderful women who share the same concern that I do. I will never leave a big mark, but my little mark, I want noted in communities close to me and those far away. So whatever I can do is just one more step to my ultimate goal.
Yes.
And that is being the person that I was meant to be, I guess.
Yes, you make the ripple.
Yeah, exactly.
And we don't even get to see where that ripple goes.
No, but you do make the ripple. And, you know, we know it goes beyond the ocean. Yeah. And it's a wonderful thing. And you make very, very good friends. When I was president, of course, I had a chance to do a lot of traveling and talk to a lot of clubs and club women. And one of the things I would share with particularly clubs was club members need to allow themselves the GFWC experience. You know how satisfying it is to be in a club. A lot of us meet probably what will be lifelong friends. Multiply that and go to the district.
Right.
Multiply it again and go to the state. Multiply it once more and go to the region. And finally, multiply it a final time and go to GFWC. Go to their conventions, become a board member. The people you meet are absolutely wonderful. I will grant you can't love them all.
No, we cannot.
But the vast, vast majority of them you can. And they share common goals with you. They share common ideals. Everybody's working to enhance their community. And depending on how you define community, some of it define it as our neighborhood. Yes. Others as literally our city, our county, our state, our country, our world. So you can define community a lot of different ways. And if your goal in life is to enhance it, GFWC is the way you do it. Absolutely. And every club does different things. And number one, you can learn from all the other clubs. And I just sat through some report sessions and I heard, well, so-and-so stole this from another club, because you do get wonderful ideas and then you tailor it to what works for your community, ever how you define it, and of course your members. So it is a win-win situation.
This is my first year being, well, of course, because I'm newer, but my first year being chairwoman of different things. And pulling in everybody's reports, and I'm looking at it, I'm going, "Ooh, I want our club to do this."
Exactly. Well, and as a chairman, you really do have the insight.
Yes, exactly. Like, this is like fun. This sounds like fun.
Don't you wish as a chairman you could read every one of those reports out loud to them?
Yes.
You could be up there for 2 hours. I understand. And so you can't do that. That's a no-no, because you only have a few minutes. But you do have a chance to say, you know, such and such a club did this, such and such a club did this. And a lot of times at those meetings, there is a representative of that club. And so if you're listening, keyword, that you can then go to that person afterward and say, well, number one, congratulations on the award. But secondly, I heard that you were involved with, what did you do? What does that mean? You know, and then you can take that back to your club. And as I say, tailor it for, number one, who your members are, because not everybody's interested in everything. If you're a large club, you probably have a lot more interest.
Mhm.
If you're a small club, your interests are going to be a little bit narrower.
Yeah.
But if it's something that triggers you, you can make it work
Mhm.
in your community. Again, how you
Mhm.
define it, and to the benefit of your members.
Yes. And that has been one of the wonderful things. It's just like, if I have a passion, the club's all for it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, let's do it. Okay, let's add it to the list.
And it's kind of fun to experiment. And I will be very honest. Obviously, I've worked on hundreds of projects over the course of 50 years.
Mhm.
And there have been some that have not gone over quite as well,
Mhm.
didn't quite probably meet the expectations that we had as we began.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But there's been some that were incredibly delightful.
Mhm.
For years, there is a troupe of little person-sized puppets
Yeah.
called Kids on the Block. And most of the puppets have handicaps.
Mhm.
And Tacoma Juniors, through a variety of grants and gifts, et cetera, because they were very expensive. They were even 30, 40 years ago, they were like $30,000.
Oh my gosh.
So we
yeah.
had to buy these puppets.
Yeah.
And then we had to be trained by a group out of Minneapolis. But we went for years to every third grade class in the city of Tacoma and many of the classes in Pierce County.
Oh my gosh.
And taught to the kids using the puppets. And we just stood there. I mean, we didn't hide ourselves. We would wear a black robe,
Mhm.
but we didn't hide ourselves or anything of that
Right.
sort. And we talked for the puppets, but we talked to the children about what it was like to have handicaps, what the limits were, and tried very hard to make those children real and approachable.
Mhm.
So if there were children with disabilities, that they wouldn't be isolated, ignored. Oh, he's in a wheelchair. I can't talk to him.
Right.
She talks funny. I can't talk to her. She doesn't walk like I do. I can't talk to her.
Mhm.
So, and it was incredibly popular.
And so before its time.
Yeah.
And the hours that you guys spent on doing that.
We
too.
did, because
I mean,
we spent the
that's a lot
better
of
part of
stress.
2 years
Yeah.
raising the money. Then we spent the next year being trained and then training ourselves,
Right.
working into teams, because usually 3 of our members would go to a school,
Mhm.
and then the next team would come and get the puppets
Yeah.
from who had them last, and they would go to the next school.
Oh goodness.
And usually we would go on Tuesdays and Thursday mornings, but the teachers actually learned to look forward to us.
Mhm.
And for some of them, it was an opportunity to get a little bit of extra work done. The teachers,
Right,
not the
right,
students,
right,
because
yep.
they were students were listening.
Yeah.
But some of the teachers just sat right there, awed,
Mhm.
and it was a marvelous experience. And I will never be sad that we did it.
No.
I was sad when we outgrew the process,
Mhm.
but we actually gave the puppets that we raised all this money for to another organization, so they continued our legacy. So that's a good
wonderful.
thing.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yes. Do you have anything else that you would like to add about GFWC?
Just to reiterate that it is such a wonderful, giving organization.
Mhm.
If someone were to join, the first thing they need to do is be willing to jump in with both feet.
Mhm.
That's what I did.
Mhm.
Don't stand in the background. People will, only approach you so many times.
Mhm.
But if you jump in, they will applaud you and they become your best friend.
Yep.
And once you're a part of a club, work to enhance your experiences.
Mhm.
So if the club does decide to do, say, a beach cleanup, and you've never done a beach cleanup, and you're not really interested in clean beaches for what we need clean beaches on us,
Right.
give yourself that opportunity. And a lot of the opportunities that we do, your family can come with. They go clean up a beach on Saturday morning.
You're right.
How wonderful to take your husband, your
Mhm.
partner,
Mhm.
your supporter, whoever, along with your children.
Yeah.
And it's just a marvelous thing to do,
Mhm.
because it exposes them to the same learning experience that you are having.
Right. And the people.
Yeah. But there are times when just the club members go, and then they usually go out, maybe have lunch or dinner afterwards.
Mhm.
Go to those things and get to know the club women on a real, genuine basis, not just someone who's rolled up their sleeves and is working beside you,
Mhm.
stuffing envelopes, cleaning up a beach, taking items to a care center, a million different things that clubs do across this country. In fact, when I was president, I believe these statistics are correct. We had over 25 million volunteer hours.
Oh my goodness.
You stop and think, if you were paid even minimum wage, how that impacts a community where there is a women's club alive, well, and working.
Right.
So GFWC is the way to go.
It
truly is.
It is. Absolutely. I love being a part of it. And it brought me to you.
And I consider that you've become a good friend. So see, it does work. Even though, obviously we are generations apart.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it makes no difference because we have the same passion.
Yes.
Within ourselves for not only the organization, because of the friendships, because of all of the projects it does do, but because of who we are.
Yeah, because of the heart of the project.
The heart of the and the heart of the organization.
Exactly.
Yeah. And as I say, just multiply that 10 times over and go to district, go to state, go to region, go to GF.
Exactly. Awesome. Thank you.